Merida is consistently ranked one of the safest Latin America areas to visit. There was one night we were walking, we were going to get something. We were coming and we had to walk down like this alleyway. And at first I was like, no, I can't. No, let's just go around. And Jason's like, come on, babe, let's just go. You know, we're from New York. Let's get your life together. And we were walking, and there were more people walking, and it was just so safe, and we didn't feel like anything was going to happen. Schools were kind of expensive when we were looking at that. We were like, oh, that could make or break your decision. But the schools that we found here in Merida, they were a lot more cost efficient for us. So it was like, we could do this and not have to like, should we put him in that school or that? As far as with Jason and his business, it would be great because we're like right there, you know? So if he had to come back and forth, even though it's kind of inconvenience, you know, I think we would just pay extra and just do the flight straight to Merida. Merida's still on the list.
It definitely is on the list.
It's probably for me, it's at the bottom of the list, not at the top of the list. And I would say for our kids, it's probably at the bottom of the list, where Jason, it might be at the top of his list.
Got me upside down, spinning around.
If you clicked on this video, you're probably thinking about moving to Merida, Mexico as well. Same right here.
Yeah, ever since COVID, we have been like, you know what, Merida might look like a place that we would want to move to. And we've been seeing all these YouTube videos about people talking about the cost of living, how cheap it is, and just the quality of life. So while we were in Cancun over our fall break, we decided, you know what? Let's go. So we took a 3.5 hour train ride over to Merida, and we explored Merida to see if this is a place that we can move our family to.
Yeah, so in this video right now, we're going to be going over the pros and cons of Merida, Mexico. We're going to be talking about the journey to Merida. We're going to be talking about the cost of living in Merida.
The schools.
The cost of living in neighborhoods in Merida. We're going to try to just give an overall approach to let you guys know the things that we researched, and hopefully this will help you in your decision as well. So,
and healthcare, because that's a big one.
Healthcare is a big one. Let's get into it. So the first thing we want to talk about is the cost of living in Merida, Mexico. And I'm talking about the thing that's driving so many people there, except the fact that it's such a safe place to be. It's the cost of living, because it's relatively cheap. So in this case here, you know, one of the biggest reasons we were even considering it was to go out there and just say, hey, let our money that we make here in the US go a little bit further, being that we'll be in Mexico. So when we went out there, we started noticing, you know, just as far as like different areas that we want to live. I did notice one thing, that when we took our bus tour, there's so many little neighborhoods in Merida, and I was like, okay, we need to really drive in to figure out what it is like each neighborhood and each neighborhood costs, you know?
And the thing is, there, your money goes a lot further. And we also like that it was kind of close to the US. Like, so if we need to hop on a flight to get back to family and friends, it was something that was easy that we can do. And then another thing was that, you know, we figured that Spanish, the language, might not be so hard to learn if we had to learn the language. Well, and Chase already knows Spanish.
Solo nos gusta hacer como los bebidas y cosas como eso.
So that was a big reason that we thought about Merida, and just how friendly everybody was.
Yeah.
And firsthand, we could tell you right off the bat, everybody is really friendly there, and is super chill.
Yeah, it is super chill. It's one of those places that you can go and you just feel like your family pretty much with everybody already the minute that you pretty much hop off the plane. So one thing that we're noticing right now is like as far as the different costs, and we'll go over this just a little bit. And Brizette actually did some research on different neighborhoods that she found, and we're gonna give you like just about a ballpark about the monthly rent from the low end to just about the high end.
Yeah, so in these neighborhoods, you're gonna get things like gated communities, you're gonna get swimming pools, you're gonna get that family community, and these are the areas that most expats are looking to move to when they're in Merida. So it just really depends on you and what you're actually looking for. Are you looking for to live in the city area, or you wanna live more in the suburb area? So there's something for everyone, I think. And that's what's nice about Merida. Yeah,
the one thing I would say too is that when we went, we were under the impression that when we went to the city center of Merida, that's where everything and everybody lived. We were so mistaken. Yeah, we're definitely mistaken. And I would say there's some really good restaurants down in the city center of Merida. There's some really historic buildings. There's things that you could do as far as like excursions on bus tours, and there's a lot of shops and such. But That's not where a lot of people live.
Yeah.
It's just not.
And you also have to remember, if you are living in the city center, and let's get into the price of the city center since we're talking about that first.
Yeah.
The city center is going to be nice, but it also is noisy.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see a lot of families living there. And if there were families, they were mostly had like little kids. And for us, the vibe wasn't vibing for the city center for us. Like, that's just not somewhere we could practically see our family living because it just was too much going on. Didn't remind me of New York, but it reminded me of, I don't know.
I mean, it had like a busy like Caribbean downtown type of feel, kind of in a way. Again, it was much friendlier, I would say that, but it just had that bustle, that those cars zipping back and forth. You see a lot of mopeds zipping back and forth of people delivering food and such. People walking about. I did like that. I did like the fact that
it was very walkable.
But it is busy. It just
busy
is. I'm sorry.
it's noisy.
And it's very noisy.
So the prices living in Central, you can go as low as $750 to about, I want to say, around $1,500. So it just depends on you and what you're looking for, because some of them might not be where you might want to stay, you know, as far as what it looks like inside. Some of them are built up. A lot of people have renovated. So you want to make sure you're looking for something that is renovated, that deals with the mold and moisture issues, and that is comfortable for you and your family. Meaning that you are going to be in a busy area.
Yeah. And again, when you're down in a busy area and you're down in like the central, the historic district, yes, the homes are like colonial. They have that charm to it. But as we keep saying, it is very busy and it's very hot.
Yeah, it is really hot. So now the most expats with families are going to move to the northern area. And this is where they're going to have more of like the suburb kind of feel, if you want to say. And those areas are going to be closer to the schools that you're also going to be looking to go to as well. And in those areas, you're going to get the malls, the hospitals, there's Costco and things like that, which makes it convenient and nice. I will say, though, when you are moving to those areas, you do have to be mindful that you're going to have to get a car.
Yeah.
Not that you have to get a car, but it's going to make life a lot easier for you, because Ubers, they are easy to get there, but that adds up after a while.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about having to take your kids to school and having to do all those other things, that might be something you have to look into, you know.
Yeah.
We did take the bus, though, when we were downtown. The buses were nice, but they were very crowded. And they take a long time. Like, oh my God, we felt like we were on the bus forever.
Yeah, and that was from the bus from the train station to Central Merida. But again, it did take a little while.
It took a long time.
Now, I would say like one of the north areas, I believe is called Timozon North and Norte, and I could be saying this incorrectly. My Spanish is just a little bit good, but I would say on the low end, you're probably around $1,200 or $1,200, and on the high end, you probably would peak right at $2,000. But as Brizette mentioned, you have like the high end, you know, gated communities. You have the mall out there. And, you know, just kind of like one of the areas that's more in higher demand, you know, because, again, depending on where you're coming from, you probably want those same conveniences and you're probably going to get it out there.
And then you also, and it depends on the high and low end, also depends on how well they're renovated.
Yeah.
So, of course, the higher end, they're going to be renovated. But some of those communities, we did find that they're a little bit off the beaten path, or it's just so far out, you know, which they're nice, though, but it just depends on you. Do you want that to feel like you're in Merida? You're going to go Central. If you want to feel like you have a little bit of both, you're going to go out to the northern part.
Yeah. Now, another neighborhood that you may be looking up if you're doing your research, and it's called Santo Grituas. I could be wrong.
We'll put the names.
We'll put the name out there because I'm butchering this stuff. And roughly, you probably look around maybe like the $1,100 to maybe about the $1,750 range, somewhere around there. And again, these prices could fluctuate. These prices could change, but just based off our research as of today, this is kind of the pricing that we were finding. And again, you still have the upscale neighborhoods. You still have another mall out there. And you also have some clinics on that side. So again, and parks. That's the biggest thing for parks. That's kind of what we're looking for, because we have kids, we have one that loves soccer, and just one that loves to be outside and just doing a whole bunch of outdoor things. So we're looking for parks. We're looking for areas that they can actually go chill, and also for us to go chill too, because we just like being outside.
Yeah. And I will say too that you have to be mindful mindful of your kids, you know, and what you're looking for and what they're used to a little bit, you know. So again, our kids don't like the city, you know, they just don't like being in the city. They were like, hey, can we go over here? Even though they felt safe, they don't. And another thing I did like about Central, though, is there's so many restaurants and different activities around that area. And we found that a lot of people come out at nighttime. And so that area was very popular. So people will drive in. Even a couple that we met at the restaurant that next day, they were coming in from the northern side. They said they live on that side. They were coming in and they were eating over there, but it took them about 30 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
So.
One other area that we definitely want to bring up and highlight is the Benito Juarez Norte. And this is like kind of like one of those established neighborhoods. When we were talking to the couple inside the restaurant, they did mention this. And she said it. She said Benito Norte. Or she said it another way, like kind of like where the locals will say it. But this is more of the established family-friendly neighborhoods. This is kind of where you're going to find like that good infrastructure, meaning you find the transportation that you need. You have those staples as far as like the supermarkets and such like that. That's kind of where you're looking at when you're in that neighborhood. Now I would say for that, roughly about the ranges that we found was about $850 to roughly about maybe $1,450 or $1,450. Again, this could be changing by the time you guys watch this, but again, in our research, this is what we found.
And we did find when we were looking at in COVID times, the prices were like half this. So as Merida becomes more popular, more expats are moving there, the prices are going up, unfortunately. So be mindful when you go there that, hey, you might not get the prices that we're telling you today, depending on the time of the year you do go.
And the last neighborhood that we want to talk about is Cholul. I believe that's correct. Is it Cholul? Hopefully it's saying it right, but Cholul is more rural. Now, this is the area that you're going to need a car. Now, if you want to go off the beaten path just a little bit, this is probably where you want to go. But we would say in our research that roughly about $700 to maybe like about $1,100 or $1,100 was your range. So you can see that's way on the cheaper end, but this is more rural. Yes, it's peaceful. But again, you're gonna need a car for daily activities. So that's one thing to consider. And
I will say, I didn't mention this, that we are looking at three-bedroom apartments or three-bedroom homes when we give you these price range. So if you only need a two-bedroom, it's gonna be a lot cheaper. Now let's get on to the daily conveniences. Well, we kind of talked about that, you know, about the shopping, the malls, the dentist's office. Those things you're going to want to look for when you are moving somewhere, especially if you're not trying to have a car. You want to have those local conveniences because you don't want to have to take a car or a bus that's about 30 minutes from you. And these areas had all of that. So that was a plus. And again, like the north side, it's kind of what we're finding in our research. It's kind of like the area that a lot of the expats, at least from what we are looking for, are kind of like gravitating to, just for those things that we're used to, accustomed right now, and we're in the US, to when we go over there, we still kind of have those things. So that's just something that you want to, take a look at. And I will say, lastly on this one, is that we found that families are in the north, young people with, just kind of coming and going, they're more in Central. So that was what we saw. Even while we were there, we kind of saw that. All right, let's move on to schools and education.
Oh, the education. So, this is big.
Now, this is where you are getting bang for your buck. If you're coming from the US, or even if you watch our Thailand video or our Portugal video, schools were kind of expensive when we were looking at that. We were like, that could make or break your decision. But the schools that we found here in Merida, they were a lot more cost efficient for us. So it was like we see we could do this and not have to should we put them in that school or this school? Now, I will say, even talking to the local, we went where we were in Isla Mujeres, and we were talking to one of the young men who were there, who his English was so good, and we were like, "Man,
it was so good."
Yeah, his English was perfect, and we were like, "Wow, did you learn English in school, in the local school, or did you go to a private school?" And he was like, "To be honest with you, the English that is in the public schools is not great at all. He said we have they'll tell you that they, teach us English, but he said it wasn't good. He said he learned English from his dad. But
yeah, he did say
so
that. Yeah.
that's something to be mindful of, that you're probably going to have to put your kids in private schools. So we're going to go over costs of some of the private schools that we did find. Now, the one that we were looking at was actually Madison,
International,
International School, and that was from $4,000 to $6,500 for the year.
Yeah. For
what?
The year.
What?
Oh, what?
For the year.
For the year.
Yes. So yes, and these are nice schools. Now, I will say the schools that we found in Thailand and Portugal, they were a lot more fancy than the schools that we found there. These were nice, but just not as nice as those schools.
Yeah. Now I would say too, one thing, even when we're looking in Thailand, we were even considering just go online because it would be a little bit cheaper going online. But we had to really kind of like pull back and think about it. Like if we were in the position of our kids at the age that they're at, would they want to be around people? I think we made another video. We were talking about Carter versus Chase, and Chase is like the social butterfly. He wants to be. Well, Carter's like, hey, I'll hang out at home. Let me do my work. I'll go outside later with you guys. So that's kind of one thing, like Brizette mentioned, just kind of know your kids. But I would tell you, based off the prices that we found here versus the prices.
Oh, they going to school.
Oh, they're going to school.
They're going to school. And I just on that note with Jason, I had a friend who actually just moved to Thailand with her daughter, and their plan from Jump Street was that they were going to do online school. And after the first 2 weeks, their daughter was like, can I please go to school? So they ended up having to do an international school. So you might have a plan of that you are going to do online because you're like, this fits in our budget. But then you might find that your kids are like, absolutely not. Like, I hate this. I want to be around friends. I want to make friends, especially when you're somewhere that a lot of people don't speak the language that you speak. It's nice to be able to go to school and have that time to be able to speak to people in your own language and be able to understand them and just have that outlet and make friends. So.
Yeah. So the next school we want to talk about is Cumbres International. And this is a K through 12 program as well. Again, all the school that we're talking about, we're not talking about colleges. We're talking about clearly to high school. Now the tuition for the year we found on this one was $4,500 to roughly about $6,500. Now it could change, but this school in particular is a faith-based school. So again, they have comprehensive bilingual programs. So again, if you have that English and also you want that Spanish, this is kind of one of the best ways that you can actually look into it for your kids, you know? The other one that we wanted to bring up too was the St. Patrick's School. And again, that's a K through 12, roughly about $4,000 to $6,000 for the year per child, clearly. But this one has more of an English focused instruction, which is really popular with the expat community because again, you know, if your kid is not the type to really pick up on the Spanish or they're having a difficult time, this may be an option for you. I do know for us, we want our kids to learn both.
Yeah,
you know, Chase already knows it, but we want them to really pick up on it.
Yeah, and being that the schools, the tuition is not so bad. And firstly, when we thought about going to there, we said, well, Chase can go to a public school there. And after we sat back and thought about it, we were like, well, maybe, you know, it'd be better for him to go to a private school. So it's something that we can afford. But I will say he has an advantage over Carter because he is fully bilingual and he can read it, write it, and everything.
Yeah.
Where Carter, he would still have to do a little bit more work to learn it. Our top of our list of schools would be Madison if we were going, but we still would want to take a tour, and we suggest that anyone, before you just put your kids in a school, take a tour. Make sure that this is the fit for you, because we could give you all the information in the world, but unless you see it firsthand, it might not be the fit for you.
Yeah. The next thing we want to move on to is healthcare.
Healthcare. If you are in the U.S., you know right now healthcare is something that we're going through right now, and it's really expensive.
Yeah.
Even with the, you know, if you get discounts or if you're through a job or whatever, it's still expensive. Or even if you're paying out of pocket, it's
still expensive. Yeah.
Where we talked to so many people when we were in Merida, and it was funny, the bellman that we talked to
while we were in Cancun.
We were talking about braces. I don't know how we got on. I think we were just telling him how nice his teeth look or something. I don't know. But we were talking about braces. We got on this subject about braces, and he was telling us actually he went to Merida. No, that's what it was. We told him that we just came from Merida, and he told us, I go to Merida to get my teeth done.
Yeah.
He said actually the best doctors come out of Merida, Mexico. They go there to study, and they are top-notch doctors. And then while we were in Merida, one of the expats we were talking to, she said her husband, they told them they lived in Costa Rica. And her husband was having some health issues, and they actually recommended that the best doctors for them and his condition were in Merida. So that's how they ended up in Merida, Mexico. So we were like, I know, like, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
And he was telling us the cost for him to get braces, and his teeth looked amazing, the retainers and everything. I want to say he said like 3,000.
I think he said
he's like 3,000 in total.
Yeah,
and that was like maybe 2 years ago, but he was like 3,000 in total, and that was for the cost of all his dental work, and they pulled teeth and they did everything, and his teeth looked so good.
Now the one thing he did say is that, of course, if you're trying to pull that off in the States, it's going to be more because you got flights and stuff, but he just took the bus. I believe he took the bus. He went out to Merida. It's one of his friends that's the dentist out there, and literally he said it was one of the best things that he's done. Also, another thing I would say, there was somebody else we talked to. They were in Playa de Carmen, and they moved out, or they were seeing a doctor in Merida. So again, it's kind of one of those things that really sat in for us, knowing that, okay, not only are the schools cheap, but this healthcare too is something to take advantage of. This is somewhere that we definitely want to go. And also, I would say, I'm sorry, sometimes, to be honest, the doctors itself, they're U.S. trained too, so they go back to
then he was saying a lot of them go there to get trained, and then they go to the States.
To the States. I'm sorry,
like that to work. So we did find that you can either pay out of pocket, you could just do visits, pay out of pocket, or you can get a health plan if you want to. For us, I think when we get there, we probably would just pay out of pocket until we kind of figure it out if this is somewhere we're actually going to be for a long term. But out of pocket, you find for a monthly. You want to go over it?
So the monthly rates, as far as like what we were looking at in our research, for public is anywhere from about maybe like 60 to about maybe give or take about $80 to $100 per month. So I mean, compared to what we're paying now, which is astronomical.
Crazy.
But again, that's what you're kind of looking for. That's what you're kind of looking at if you're looking like the public plan. If you go with private insurance itself, and I want you to hear this, in our research, it was anywhere from $250 to about $400 per family per month. And again, that's still cheaper. Even if you're in the States and you're any type of subsidies or anything like that, you already know you're still not going to find rates that low at all. And compared to a family, I mean, 10 months, you're looking at $4,000, whereas, in some cases you may be paying over $1,000 a month in health insurance, private health insurance here in the States. So the cost there is huge. And again, with those premiums, as far as the monthly out of pockets and such, there is no out of pocket at all. So this is just your rate. This is what you're paying. You go to the doctor. That's what it is.
That's what it is. And we talked to a couple of expats, and they just said, no, we just go when we feel sick. We just go. We pay like $20 sometimes. We pay $30. We see the doctor. Sometimes it's $5 and $10. Chase had some issue with his foot while we were there, and they were like, oh, just go to the pharmacy and see the pharmacist, or you could see the doctor there when he's there. And they would think it was like $15, and we were like,
I think it was 10.
It was so cheap. We were like, bet, and that was just, and they gave us a prescription, and we were on our way, and the prescription was like $3,
$3,
and we had some stomach issues going on. We got a prescription for that. So take advantage of it while you're there.
Now the other thing I want to jump on and just say, like, specialists, and I know a lot of people here in the States, that's one of our biggest pushbacks, our drawbacks. Like, what about the specialist doctor that I have to see with any condition that you have? Now, in our research, we found that even going to a specialist is anywhere about $15 to maybe $30 as far as like public specialists that you're going to see. And when you have private insurance, it could be anywhere from like a $25 to $30 copay, which is kind of like comparable here to the US. And the most out of pocket that you may have is like 60 to maybe 120, maybe $150 that you may have out of pocket going to a specialist. But as you know, with some of the insurance that we have here, you have a copay, you have co-insurance. So after you pay that copay, you're going to get another bill in the mail based off what you have for co-insurance, just depending on your plan. Again, just the savings right there of having predictability I think that's huge, especially when you're going for a family, and we're a family of 4. That's a big plus for us.
That's a big plus. That saves us a ton of money.
Oh, last thing I just want to talk about is the emergency room, because emergencies happen, especially with kids. So what we found in our research with public is anywhere from about 25 to about 30, 35 bucks as far as like your out of pocket for public insurance. For private insurance, it's usually covered. The emergency room, it's covered.
It's covered.
And also, like, you know, your out of pocket that you may have, let's say, give or take, probably, you know, x-rays and such like that, 80 to about 120, maybe 150 bucks. Again, you know, when we go to the doctors here in the U.S., you have the physician's fee, you have the radiologist fee, you have the radiologist, like the facility fee. There's so many different fees
There's
that you're
so
tacking
much going on.
But by the time you look at this, it's actually so much cheaper too.
Yeah,
So,
and I the thing I can't stress enough is that the best doctors are there. So
Yeah.
I know you might feel scared, like, oh, they don't speak my language, and a lot of them speak English.
Yeah.
So don't be nervous when you go there. Try it, you know. But everybody has to try it for themselves.
Yes.
Thanks so much for watching our video. We're just taking a quick second to let you know that we have a website.
Yeah, did you guys know that La Pointe Life is online at www.lapointelife.com? You might see it down at the bottom of this description. Right now, we're loading up all our tutorials. We're loading up all our guides that we have, because we believe that every family should travel outside their zip code and experience life outside their zip code. So head over to lapointelife.com right now and make sure you check out some of the resources that we got out there for you guys.
Yeah, so keep watching the video, like, subscribe, and, you know, join the journey with us.
Let's get you back to the video. All right, so let's move on to, whoa, I'm hitting the mic. I got excited about this one. The weather and the climate. So I know.
I'm just going to tell you, it's hot.
It is hot.
It was hot. We were in there in the end of September, and we were like, we came from Cancun, and we went over there. Now, what was the difference in temperature? It was like, it was 10 degrees.
Yeah, it's 10 degrees, but it's a difference.
It's a difference.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was hot. And this is why most people come out at night. Okay. So you have to be mindful of that. Now, you are going to have some parts of the time of the year where it is not as hot, but it's still hot. You know, you're going to have like your winter time where it's like the low 80s, going into the 70s. And then you're going to have your hot season where it's just hot. And more hot. And a lot of people, like the kids, the parks are like going crazy at night. Restaurants, because we were there during the daytime, we were like, where's everybody at? Like, we saw a lot of people in the square and stuff like that, but as far as like, we saw a lot more people at nighttime. We were like, oh,
like it came alive at night. It's like, oh, this is where everybody's at.
It was so different. We were like, oh my goodness. And it's because it's so hot. So if you are going there, you have to know that it is hot and humid. So if you, and even be mindful of your hair. You know, if you're natural, that's something you have to think about. If you have curly hair, it's, you know, you're fine, but you wearing it straight. Like, I like to wear my hair straight when it gets cold. I couldn't do that there at all, you know. And then you have to also think about, is this going to be good if you have breathing issues? Is that something that you can handle? If, you know, if you just don't like it hot, you know, your body will adjust to it after a while, but it's going to take a while, you know, because we were like, how are these people wearing jeans? Like, it is so hot. How are they wearing long pants? But your body gets used to it after a while. But so you have to be mindful that you're going to be sitting in the AC a lot. And a lot of your activities with your family, you're going to be doing them in the evening time.
So what we're going to move on to now is the things that people really don't talk about. Of course, I know everybody's talking about the heat, but I just want to mention just 4 things. Number 1 is the intense heat. Number 2 is the transportation needs. Number 3 is the flight connectivity. And finally, nobody's mentioning this because there's so many people moving there, there's a construction boom. And again, I know we were just talking about the temperature and the weather and such, but I just really want to start with number 1 on the intense heat. Okay,
so the heat from, it was about April to September, it can get from anywhere from 90 to over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, over. Yes, you heard me right, over. And you have to remember that Merida is not, like, you can take a bus ride about 20 minutes to a beach, but it's not like down the road there's a beach, you know.
Yeah.
So you have to think about that too. Most places that you do rent are going to have pools in the backyard to cool you off and stuff like that. But if you have kids who are used to being able to go outside in the daytime and go play, you're going to have to kind of schedule the times they can go out, and just know that you might have to switch things around and go out at nighttime, which could be fun.
Yeah, it could be fun too. Like we noticed there were more people coming in at night. Now,
Yeah.
number two I want to talk about is the transportation. And the transportation here, it's not really ideal if you have young children, because again, that's with buses. You're waiting for buses out in the intense heat, depending on when they're going to school. Sometimes the buses can get packed. They may not run as frequent as you may be used to in your major metropolitan city if you're coming from that. And again, like we mentioned at the top of the video, if you're thinking about Ubering everywhere, that's going to add up.
It's
so
gonna add up.
yeah, you're gonna have to really start considering the fact that you may just need to get a car. And again, with that car, it does bring in another expense, depending on if it's getting imported. Did you buy it there? Do you have payments? And also what the insurance is like. So that's one thing you kind of want to keep in mind.
And then I also will say with the Uber drivers, a lot of them only speak Spanish. So you're going to have that communication where you're like, oh, you might not be able to communicate with them as well. And you might get a little bit frustrated. So just be aware of that.
Now, the other thing I want to go ahead and talk about is the connectivity, the flight connectivity. Now, flights to Merida, direct to Merida, can add up. They could be pretty pricey. Now, yes, I do understand that the flight is not as far like from the US, depending on where you're coming from, especially like here on the East Coast where we're at. But you have to be mindful that going direct to Merida is similar to going to like a direct regional airport.
Like a smaller
A very
airport, yeah.
small airport. So a lot of times what families are actually doing, they're flying into Cancun and then they're taking a 3-hour drive to Merida, or in this
A
case
bus,
here, a bus
train.
or the train. So that is added cost that you have to really consider if you're going back and forth to the States a lot. Now, if it's occasional, then that's not really something that you're worrying about. Or if you don't have people that's going to come visit you as frequent as you think that they may, then that's something you don't worry about. But if you're a business owner and you have to constantly do work every single week out of the country, that's something that you may want to consider.
Yeah, because like you can say, well, I'll just take the train. I'll take the train. That's like, what was it, 3.5 hours?
Uh-huh.
A 3.5 hour train ride, which cost us $400
Yeah.
for a family of four,
Just
round
about-
trip.
Yeah, just about that. Yeah.
So that adds on. Or if it's just a single person, that's still
It's about $100, yeah.
You know, for you to get back and forth on top of the train ride. Or you could take the bus, but that's still getting on a bus after you leave. So if, like Jason said, if you're not worried about, well, once we get there, we're going to be there, then that's fine. You also just have to remember though too, is that if you want to travel to other countries, you know,
Yeah.
that's going to get expensive, you know, where Thailand or we were in Portugal, it was a lot cheaper. The flights, you know, traveling from one place to another place was $50. you
Yeah,
know?
or especially if you're in Asia and you want to
Yeah.
travel to Asia, or I guess travel.
It was a lot cheaper,
It was
you
a
know,
lot cheaper,
versus being in Merida.
Now, the final thing I want to talk about is the construction boom, and that's something that a lot of people are not mentioning right now. And there is construction going on. We were there and we witnessed it
my
firsthand. We did also witness that there were a lot of mega mansions that looked like pretty much mega houses that were kind of boarded up for sale. Now, and again, I don't know what that could be due to. Maybe people were just moving out. Maybe there's something held up in the government as far as like older people own the houses and it's kind of tied up in
There was a lot
courts.
of them.
There were a lot of them, but the construction is what we did notice as far as like the noise, the construction vehicles going back and forth, because again, there's more people moving, especially like to the north and such. So that's one thing you want to consider if you are moving out there, something that you will have to deal with for the most part. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be horrible like you go into New York City and you're dealing with horrendous traffic because there's so many road construction, but that's something you want to really consider if you're looking for peace and quiet.
But I will say that traffic was kind of
Yeah, it was.
going back. We were trying to get back to the train.
Oh, I forgot about that.
God. What should have taken us 15 minutes, 20 minutes, it took us about 45 minutes,
Yeah.
and we thought we were going to miss our train. Which brings me to another note. You are going to be on Merida time.
Yeah.
Everyone's not going to be in a rush. So when you get there, you are going to have to slow your roll, slow your pace, relax a little bit, and know that, hey, they're not rushing like we usually rush.
No, they're
Okay?
definitely not. All right. So a little bit more things to consider, because again, this is the pros and cons. We want to make sure we're just having, a nice blanketed topics for you guys to consider. Again, if you move in there, you have to understand that there is a language barrier. It's not like you're going to a central city,
Like
I shouldn't say
Cancun.
like Cancun or like Playa del Carmen or Cozumel, where a lot of the people understand, a lot of tourists come. When you go to Merida, when you're ordering things, they're looking at you like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Because again, it's one of the countries, it's one of the cities where it's the old feel. This is where we live, and we lived here for a long period of time. We understand English, but we don't need to.
We're not going to
speak it.
cater to you.
Yeah, we're not gonna cater.
So
No.
just be mindful that you want to take some lessons before you go, have a basic understanding. Now, there are a lot of people who do speak English, but their first language was Spanish. So,
Yeah.
when you go there, you should learn the language. Thankfully for us, we had Chase, who was able to translate everything. And once he did, we got better prices.
We did.
We got friendlier service. There was so much more. So when you speak the language, they're like, oh my goodness, you took the time to learn it. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And they were just so friendly, which everybody still was friendly there. But we have to be mindful for us. Chase is going to go to school.
Yeah.
So you got to get your life together. You
got to
know?
learn a little bit more Spanish. The other thing that you want to consider is like the bureaucracy and the paperwork. Now, Brizette mentioned this already, that you are on Merida time. You're on Mexico time. This is not about, I need this now, I need this done now. It doesn't work like that. So you
Yeah.
just have to pack patience. You do have to understand that there's a process to everything, for permits, to utilities, to just applying for apartments. It is going to be a little bit slower, just a tad. But again, you're now working in another country on that country's time. And just because it's done fast here in the US or wherever you're coming from, it does not mean that they have to do it as fast there. So you're going to have to just, again, pack some patience.
And this is where anywhere you go. Again, our friend in Thailand is going through the same issue with paperwork and everything. So just pack your patience. This even comes down to when you're getting things done in your house, like someone coming to paint the house, someone
Yeah.
to come to cut the grass. They might say they're going to come this day, and they come
2
a
days
day
later.
later, 2 days later. They might say 1 in the afternoon, and it might be 6 o'clock before you see them. So
Yeah.
just be mindful of that.
Yeah, just be mindful of it. The last thing that we want to talk about, and I'm surprised she didn't take this
God.
topic, is the tropical wildlife. And I'm talking about the mosquitoes, the water bugs.
You mean the spiders?
The
the spiders, the tarantulas,
spiders.
like
Yeah,
whatever.
there's some real things out there.
God, yeah. When we were there, I don't think we got bit up as much, so I was like happy about that. We didn't feel like the mosquitoes so crazy, but we did have bug spray.
Yeah.
But the spiders that when I'm watching videos online and these people are like showing the spiders and that they're in their house, or the big water bugs. Now we did experience the water bugs. There were some water bugs around. Well, we're from Georgia, so we've seen those a lot. So we're just like, okay, but I don't know if I can get over the spiders.
Yeah.
That's just.
They-
the deal breaker for me, because if I wake up and I see this big old tarantula like looking at me and I'm looking at it, I might have some problems, So that is where I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. So could our
Something to consider.
family? Yeah. So the question is, do you think our family can move to Merida?
I think so. I think the spiders and such like that is something you get used to, but for the most part, it's kind of like you're getting used to the majority of things that you're dealing with right
Talk
now.
about tarantulas.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So originally we're from New York and we moved to Georgia when we went to college, but the water bugs, they weren't as prevalent in New York like they were in
these things
Georgia.
are like huge.
They're
water
huge.
bugs.
They're huge. And then, as far as like the lizards, if you're watching this from Florida, you understand the lizards come in your house, all these different things, but in time you get used to it and you learn how to adapt with it. I always look at it this way. If people have been here for years, centuries, and they're dealing with it, they know how to deal with it. Just learn from them. It's not going to kill you. Or maybe it will.
It might kill you. So I don't know. Our kids, we asked our kids, when we left, we said, do you think Merida is a place that you could live? And I was shocked because Chase was like in his zone. Like he was having such a good time. Everybody was loving him. But he was like, I don't know. I still like Portugal and I like Thailand. So we are struggling with that. As far as with Jason and his business, it would be great because we're like right there, so if he had to come back and forth, even though it's kind of inconvenience, I think we would just pay extra and just do the flight straight to Merida,
yeah.
because taking a 3-hour train it's not worth it.
I mean, I get a lot of work done, but after a while, you're like, you have to. It's like a 3-hour commute to the airport.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's
So
kinda crazy.
and then depending on flights and stuff like that, I wouldn't say no. I'm not gonna say no. Like I love the people. I loved everything about Merida. It was really nice. I felt like I didn't want to leave. You know, that next day I got up for breakfast. I was like, I really don't want to leave because when we got the best part was when we went to we went and had breakfast. And it was all these expats in there, and everybody was just talking with each other because they were just so excited to see someone else who spoke their language. But they were just sharing about their experience and how they love it here, and how beautiful it is, and how beautiful the people are, and they can never see themselves going back to the States.
That was the biggest thing.
That
They kept saying they can't see themselves going back. And one of the couples, they were explaining how many places they lived, and they actually came from, I think it was Bali, they came from. And they said from Bali to here, it was like night and day for them. And they had a little girl, and they just said she just loves this place. And they just loved it, the fact that they could just walk around. They felt extremely safe. And I'm sorry, that's one thing we really didn't talk about. We didn't really talk about the safety of Merida.
Oh my God. Oh, how could we forget that? That's number one.
Yeah, that is number one.
Merida is consistently ranked one of the safest Latin America areas to visit. So we felt like there was one night we were walking, we were going to get something. We were coming, and we had to walk down like this alleyway. And at first I was like, no, I can't. No, let's just go around. And Jason's like, come on, babe, let's just go. You know, we're from New York. Let's get your life together. We were walking, and there were more people walking, and it was just so safe, and we didn't feel like anything was going to happen. Not saying that nothing can happen, because you have to be mindful anywhere you're going, because there are other people from other places there. But we didn't have any issues.
No.
We felt completely safe. Everybody was really nice. So Merida's still on the list.
It definitely is on the list.
Probably for me, it's at the bottom of the list, not at the top of the list. And I would say for our kids, it's probably at the bottom of the list, where Jason, it might be at the top of his list.
Yeah. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. Again, the pros and cons of Merida, Mexico. Make sure you drop in the comments, what are you guys thinking? Also, just if there is somebody who is considering Merida, Mexico, definitely send this video to them, because again, a lot of things that we talked about in this video is things that people are not considering. And the fact that the matter is that we were just there a few months ago is something that really just popped on our radar, that we say, we definitely need to talk about this.
Yeah, and I will say, before you move anywhere, please go visit. And if you are in Cancun, taking a trip to Cancun, go ahead and take that train ride.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I didn't even touch on that. The train was so nice. They cleaned that train like top to bottom. Every 2 minutes they were cleaning the train. Clean, nice, friendly. So take a train ride over and just enjoy Merida for the day.
All right.
Two.
Hopefully this
Or
helps. See you in the next one.